welcome everyone. My name is Jasmeene Francois. I'm the resident dramaturg with Conch Shell Productions, and I had the lovely opportunity of working with Rivka for I think the past 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take this opportunity to talk with the team and then open it up for questions. These are our festival, they're new works, they're in progress. So we're always learning from each other what the audience is picking up on. And then without further ado, we are joined by Rivka Rivera and the playwright and the director, Francisco Rivera. All right, so we're just gonna jump in. This is a question for both of you. I'm gonna start with the feelings. How does it feel after hearing this iteration of the piece?
Yeah, like we're like, I mean, wow. It feels, I think we're still processing, right?
Yeah,
I'm processing what they just did, and it's a hurricane, right? It's like a whole experience, and so I think I'm just blown away by, we didn't have too much rehearsal time, and blown away by how they just sunk in and understood the especially the rhythm of the tempest of the play. And sort of it was over before I realized what was happening, and I think that was a good thing. It was, so I feel kind of like I came out of a tornado.
Yes.
Yeah, it's for me. I'm saying my mind is, the word is coming. It's like I'm still metabolizing the whole emotional process, and I'm also thinking like further, like when we have the production, like how the audience will be living, like from this experience. Like it's a storytelling in this play, but it is a wholeheartedly experience that we all go in with the characters. So yes, that's the word, like metabolizing, acknowledging the amount of time that we had to work with and being proud of the work, but also it's interesting just to experience the aspect of even letting go of the experience. So it's the same image of letting go of the trees, like, oh, that already finished. And so you're just there. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think one of the things that was really compelling for me is, so just for some context, we have an artist collective, and with the playwrights, we meet once a month, and so experiencing this as a whole was, I was like tearing up at the end. I was like, ooh, because we're usually experiencing the pages like 10 by 10, and then of course I read it in full. But it's just like this, like the tornado and the hurricane. Just I wanted to give some of that just to It's been, I think I'm still trying to find my words too about what I just experienced. And so one of the things that I think we're always wondering as people who are listening and experiencing the play is like, what inspired the piece? Where is it coming from? What are you pulling from?
Yeah. Well, it's a really personal piece. It is based on my family. And so I'm pulling from a lot of just life circumstances. I lost my sister to suicide. My family experienced Hurricane Maria right after, and those two catastrophes on top of each other, and then looking at how we metabolize grief. I think writing this play was part of my metabolization process. But I think, as I've been working on it, it's become, and part of this experience of hearing actors work on it and actors take it on and have their conversations, and just starts to become further and further. It's my family, but I see it in other people's families, and these characters have really started to develop into their own lives. And I find that, I feel like I took pieces of truth, of my own truth, and liberated them into a universal truth, and that's been this process. So the more I talk about it as my own story, the more I recognize it's become even, and my family, my stepmom is here, my mom is here, my dad has heard the play, so I've shared it with family too. It's not something that hasn't been metabolized in community, but a big part of this for me was about creating a space where we can grieve together and in community. And I think even though this is a play about, you know, the circumstance during Maria and a hurricane, I began writing it really seriously during the pandemic. And I think there was something about grieving in isolation and in space that really pushed forward the need to like investigate what it meant to grieve communally.
And I know during the process we talked about August Wilson quite a bit, especially with the stage directions. And I was wondering, do you find that you are in conversation with other playwrights with this work? And how and who are those playwrighs?
Yes, I love that question because I think, especially because I'm an actor first, so, you know, that feeling in conversation with playwrights first and foremost in that way, and then getting into writing my own story, I think there was like a lot of Sam Shepard probably like early on, like I was like, this is a Puerto Rican Sam Shepard, it felt like, and then definitely as we talked more, August Wilson, The Humans was like a big influence. I was thinking about families around tables, you know, there's certain elements of it that, and then we've been kind of working on this in different capacities with our designer and another creative producer, and this with Conch Shell, but thinking about it then, like design actually has influenced a lot, like thinking about it as, particularly in this round, as I was thinking about how do we craft the stage directions, which we worked a lot with in our writers group. I was thinking about Yvonne van Hove's and thinking about A View from the Bridge a lot, and like that particular like bare bones nature. And then Appropriate, which you also brought to my attention, Brandon Jacob, that was really influential too, and that's coming to Broadway, so I'll just put a plug first, but you know, I'm excited about it because I only read it, and that was also influential.
Beautiful, thank you. And then, so curious, Francisco, how do you, I'm curious about process too. So what is your process as a director, and then how did you bring that to this piece?
Well, for me, this play has it has a challenge because, interestingly, for Rivka, the story, it's personal, but the circumstances for me were personal. I was in Puerto Rico for Maria, and my house got flooded for Maria. An experience. So having to navigate that history in my body at the same time, pushing away and finding like how that informs working in this process, in a new play development process. So that leading to like, usually when I read plays, when Rivka reach out, what I do a read, and I just do a mood board. Because I work a lot with images, and I just choose specific images, and I put them in specific order. They don't have to be at the same chronological time with the play, but it's a visual response, and then having lived through it, I gave me the challenge to. I have a tendency to be very surrealistic and very push away the reality just to give the artistry to find the emotional heart of the play. And then after that, one of my main interests as a director, and I think it's part of is in the core of my process, is collaboration. So collaborating with the writer, getting into that relationship as an artist, and then collaborating with our artistic producer, and then our production designer, like to build this world from the heart, and then working with performers, which is one of the things that we enjoyed with this process, working with actors, performers who are getting in to play in the wonder of discovery of each beat by beat, moment by moment, and images, and that also comes helpful. Like for example, when I worked with Brianna in the scene when we get Mar, and I told, imagine that you are in the image of the ocean coming in and out, which also resembles the movement of sometimes when somebody it's in a level of alcohol in their body, just let that come through and work through that as it works through the body. So yeah, that would be like going through the process from the personal to the collaborative and communal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. And I love that you're talking about the kind of images, and I'm curious, and this is from both of you, were there any surprises that came during the rehearsal?
During the rehearsal, during this performance, there was someone I looked at Rivka. So what happened? There's this line that Edith says, like, when Delphi's talking about being the girl boss, like she wants to be independent, like, oh, that mistake was to let your mom to the illness. I was like, oh wait, that's a conversation I want to have with you later on, like, because that sent me to a different aspect that I just didn't unlock. Just unlock that image of like what led Mar to go into like the illness of like to fall into the illness of alcoholism. So there were discoveries here, and then in the rehearsal process with the performance again, like they come in play for like, oh, what if it's this? Like, oh, let's go for it. And then trying those what is. Very Stanislavski, that's nothing new, but just trying those and letting them be in the sense of wonder. It was very helpful in the, like new images, like oh, I didn't thought about that. If that makes any sense.
Beautiful.
And I mean, I think they just, because we had little time, I thought it was so smart of them. Like they didn't show us any of their, they were but they didn't give anything away. So this was the first time we saw them really, they're kind of like, well, we're holding back a little, and that was great, really smart. And they just brought it all here. So I felt like they were discovering things. It was so special to see it in that stage where they're discovering and offering things new. I mean, yeah, I learned a lot. I'm still gonna have to unpack if there's anything specifically. I think maybe if anything, the question's always whose play is it, which I don't love that question, because I feel like I really felt like it's everyone's play at different moments, and it felt like everyone plays a part in that. It's everyone's hurricane at different moments, and you could justify why it's different people, different characters, Yeah,
beautiful. And talking about like the question of where does it go next? So I'm going to open up to the audience. Does anyone have a question? Just want to get a gauge, just real quick. You raise your hand, and then we can just jump right. Yeah, okay, go ahead. So if you would like to be on the mic, you can come up. Just remember that if you go on the mic, it's gonna go online.
This question is for both Rivka and Francisco. In regards to technical and emotional impact, what was the most emotional and just satisfying part of the play for you to direct and for you to write? Thank you.
I would say, wow, how to envision the world where these characters, where the heart of this play lives physically. It's because it's also one of the challenges, how to make it come through without falling into the realism, which is easy, very easy. But my approach with this story, like I don't want to go into the realism of this play is a story that's being told to the bodies of these human beings. The rest around it, it's a projection. It supports what's happening. So that's one, how to envision. There's still questions that I have of how to envision certain moments of the play, and then the scene of Carmen's monologue, the Eye of the Storm. I grew up around strong women in my life. Single mother, my grandmother, and I've seen a lot of women in my life of holding too much and seeing a character to free themselves no matter what happens to them at the end. I think it's a sense of honoring my ancestors. So that's the two things that I can say for now.
I think most satisfying to write, the end, it's really satisfying to finish. I think finding the math of it, because like I understood I think initially the emotion of it and the things, you know, that I want to say, and when it came to me it was like, ooh, and act 1 just kind of came out really fast, and then it was like, how are you gonna finish? I think it was really satisfying to find the last image, so I knew I was writing towards Ildefonso replanting the tree in the planter. And so that was a satisfying image to find, because I knew if I could just get there, and that journey, yeah, and when I could kind of piece out, because Carmen's Eye of the Storm at the end had come to me previous, but I didn't know where to put it, and it's sort of, yeah, figuring out the math of it, I think as a writer was really satisfying.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
That's a beautiful question. Any other questions lingering? I have questions, but I just want to make sure.
I'll do a question.
Yeah, come on up.
Okay. I thought all the characters were like very, very specific in their like needs and purposes for the narrative drive, and I was just wondering, throughout the writing process, did you always know that it was going to be these 4 characters in the room, or were there cutting, consolidating, things like that, merging of characters?
I always knew, thank you, I love that question. I always knew that it was going to be these 4 characters. I think what I didn't know, what came in draft 2, was I didn't know how Mar was going to come in. So I'd say there was, you know, there's 4, but there's 5, and I guess there's 6 because then there's the hurricane.
And also we have Shaggy.
Oh, right,
so
7.
We have 3,
okay.
3 present but present.
3 present but present. And so the discovery of how to bring Mar in through Delfina was a really important second draft discovery that I'm, you know, that we're still playing with it. Like, I think even in this, I was like, ooh, what are the more ways and the hissing and how to tie some of those things together I want to look at for the next draft. Because that was tied to, I was trying to articulate this idea that I think a lot of people experience, and I've seen, where if you look like, and I've experienced, like, if you look close to someone who's passed, or someone in your family, you know, you remind them of your ex, or you remind them of your sister, you know, your mother, that you get spoken to. It's like, it literally is like you're a walking ghost. Like, there's not a differentiation, and you're just being spoken to, having that conversation, that argument with their ghost. And so that characterization came out through that. So there was more of an editing of how to bring in some of the characters who were already there. Yeah.
And I think we're almost at time. Right? So just to close out, I love a good one-word reflection to close out. So a word that is resonating with you, that's sticking with you after this performance. So one word, and you're just going to offer it into the space, and we can make room for silence. That's okay. I'm a facilitator. I'm okay with silence. But one word.
Heartbreak, life, love, ocean.
Lives.
Story.
Funny.
Funny. History.
Grief.
Yeah.
All right.
Amazing language.
Yes.
Magical language.
All right, and with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for writing this beautiful piece.
Thank you, Conch Shell. Thank you,
I want to take a minute to thank Lana Rosso and Michael Reese, which is our production designer, and Lana Rosso, our creative producer.
Ooh.
Thank you. Thank you, Martine. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming.
I was like,